Are we rolling?
We're rolling.
Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse on FSAN and the Undroppables and on terrestrial radio 101.5 talking West Tennessee. This is the finest collection of knowers of ball in the industry. There's stiff competition out there, but we're stiffer. It's been a long week, but we're rejuvenized, so lock in. We're about to wild out and hammer down to get you bricked up. I'm bigz, with me in the Hall of Ball Knowledge. My clowns from a different circus. I got Schultzy in the building. Greinberg goes up top. Chev and Coach Retzlaff. What's up, boys? Wait. Allez, monsieur. Because I always fumble with the 101.5 talking Tennessee line, and right as I was getting to it, a call came in and just went whoop right over where my words were. Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse. It's Wednesday, July 2nd, which that means nothing to you because this day is already past, time traveler. We're the beat beneath the board. We're talking value hunters in the middle rounds. How are you guys doing? Ready for these 4th of July celebrations?
Tony the
I
Tiger.
will consider us on the map, and we have made it when we reach extraterrestrial radio.
We are out of this world, and so is this show, folks. Yeah, we are going to get into some crossfire stuff, and it's a great day. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the festivities. Whether you're doing, hopefully it's all safe stuff, right? And we're in startup season, and the board is wide open. But once you're out of the top 30 picks, the real work begins. So we're talking crossfire this week. It takes us straight to the heart of every dynasty build, the rounds. We're going to go 4 through 13, 14, we'll say, where titles are quietly won and lost. Each of us will take 2 specific rounds. We'll lock in on one player from each of these rounds, which we believe is a draft day steal. Maybe it's a post-hype breakout. Maybe it's a steady vet no one gets excited about. Maybe it's a young riser who hasn't hit their ceiling yet. Or it's, the zone where your rosters are made or broken. So we're going to find these values. We're not going to challenge each other too much because I think we're all very similar pages here, but we'll have to see. Crossfire always brings some excitement. So let's get the crossfire going, Schultzy, with our vid.
I loudly win.
All right. That was awesome. Thanks, Dev, as always, for the graphics. You are on fire these days, providing FSN with some of the best stuff and undroppable. So shout out to Dev. He is hooking us all up. So, Schultzy, we're going to start with you with round 4. We're going with players in the range of 45 to 65 in ADP. So who are you picking in round 4 as a guy that you think is such a value that you can't leave without?
Oh, I'm going TreVeyon Henderson here, man. I love this guy. He was my pre-draft RB2, and I love him. He's explosive. He's a home run hitter. This guy can score from anywhere on the field. I know he kind of got a little bit overshadowed here by some Quinshon Judkins, but I am just enamored with this guy's talent, and I think it's going to translate to Sundays without an issue. We get a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs comp here, and I think that's a fair comp, but I love the fact that TreVeyon is an absolute stud pass catcher. That we talked about in the fantasy forecast last week, but sure, pass blocking is not going to get you any points in fantasy, but it's going to get you on the field. And when you're on the field, you score fantasy points. So I have no doubts about this guy working his way on the field. The talent's going to show right away. Ramondre's third down days are done, and TreVeyon's just going to step in, lock down that role, and he's going to be good enough that I think he's going to completely take over Ramondre by the second half of the season. Getting past some of the individual talent stuff here, I think one of the things that's got me most excited is this Josh McDaniels move back to New England. And looking at some of the things he's done, Josh McDaniels, that is, in his offenses, he has utilized running backs out of the backfield a ton. I mean, going back to like the mid 2000s. I mean, we've seen dudes in his offenses like Kevin Falk, Danny Woodhead, Shane Vereen. These are all backs who have receiving backs who have produced in a Josh McDaniels offense. And the one guy that really popped is James White. 2018, he led the Patriots in targets and receptions. He had 87 catches that year. He followed it up in 19 with 72 catches. Running backs are often top 3 in targets in a Josh McDaniels offense. We saw in Oakland when he had Josh Jacobs on the team. To me, especially with all these dudes in the past in New England that he's utilized out of the backfield, Henderson is significantly more talented. I think we are going to see a ton of receiving work out of TreVeyon when he's on the field. And like I said, he's going to force his way on the field. I love this guy. I think he's going to be a home run.
It hurts my heart every time you bring him up because I love him too, and I know he's the only thing between Land Larison and glory.
Well.
I love it. Let's go, Chev.
Hit me.
The anticipation is here.
We've reached an inflection point here, boys. 6 minutes and 36 seconds into this episode. So we're talking about TreVeyon Henderson. And the one thing that is for certain is that he is one of the most dynamic players in the entirety of the NFL, the 2025 NFL draft class. TreVeyon Henderson was, absolutely phenomenal. One of the highest rated players in the history of 24/7, breaks out as a true freshman, then suffers some injuries, stays all 4 years, tandem backs with Quinshon Judkins on the way to a national championship. I love everything that you said about Quinshon Judkins. There's just one uno. Okay. That's what the Germans say for one. Okay. One problem here. And that is, I agree that all of the things that you said are going to happen. The issue that I have is that there's in one of the 14,605,000 futures that Dr. Strange looked at, there's one, uno, again in German, where Ramondre doesn't fumble away the job. And it's just really annoying, much in the way that I feel like Najee's going to be really annoying for Amarian Hampton, that Ramondre is going to be a thorn in the side, much like Melvin Gordon was to 2021 Javonte Williams, pre-injury Javonte Williams.
This is PTS.
Clearly see the guy who has more juice, more talent. When he gets the ball, the people on the defensive side of the ball, they aren't trying to catch their breath. They're going out there and they're watching. They're up. They're watching to see what TreVeyon's going to do next. Now, how does that not happen? Braves likes himself a hard-nosed runner. We know this. TreVeyon is a hard-nosed everything. He's perfect. But they also have a financial commitment tied to Ramondre Stevenson. And if Ramondre is not fumbling the football, he's going to be involved. So while I am thrilled, absolutely thrilled about everything that you said about TreVeyon Henderson, he has a Ramondre problem that I don't think is going to go away unless you are able to sneak some Crisco into his gloves or he just develops a case of the Megan Fox thumbs and he can't hold on to the football any longer. So those are our two outs. Like either, he fumbles it away or his fingers turn to Megan Fox thumbs, all 5 of them, and he just can't hold the football anymore.
Yeah, Ramondre's locked up for 4 more years, I think, with them.
So they have an out after, but it's not. I
think after 26,
unless he just absolutely embarrasses himself, they've got a financial commitment to him.
He's cuttable in 2026. He's cuttable.
Yeah,
I think there is a possibility that scenario plays out. I don't
make
like
no mistake about it, Schultzy. I love what you said, and I think that Ramondre could very well be taking a back seat, much in the way that Mark Ingram and Adrian Peterson did to Alvin Kamara. Like, he could be that dynamic. It's just that I don't think that Ramondre sucks or he's washed or that there's such a distinct gap in skill that he just, we're using Trevion 65 to 70% of the snaps as a rookie. So that's my only thing.
I don't think you're wrong. I just don't like it, so I'm going to choose to reject it.
That's fair.
I mean, we're talking about dynasty though too. So we're looking at this round. We're talking round 4 here. I mean, that might be a little rich to be drafting him, but I mean, look at his upside here. He's got all the tools to be what you want. He's got that longevity potentially because he's not going to play the every down back. So I think if there's going to be a running back, you're going to want to put your stakes in this rookie class as far as longevity goes. I think TreVeyon Henderson has got all the chops to be that guy. I think you bring in very much some good points here, Chev, on Ramondre, but in next year, I think this is going to be the TreVeyon Henderson, Lan Larison show there in New England as far as their backfield goes. And all signs are pointing to TreVeyon getting quite a bit of targets. I could see him getting, especially in the latter half of this season, if he can take on, we know these running backs, they come on later on in the season, especially in the latter half, I could see him taking on that backfield and, getting upwards of, 70 targets in this offense his rookie season. And I don't think that's going to be outlandish. So I'm willing to take a stab on him. Maybe round 4 might be a bit pricey for me, but I see him going in round 5, round 6, and I'm easily tapping the button on Henderson there.
Well, I would also say easily? You've got 3 scenarios where you have Henderson with Ramondre, Hampton with Najee, as Chev had mentioned, and then RJ Harvey with J.K. Dobbins. It's almost like to the point with Schultzy where you have to parse, hey, if you're not willing to pay now, you're not going to deserve later. If you don't love me when I'm at my craziest, you don't deserve me at my best, right? That old Marilyn Monroe line. So with these stud young running backs, if you can get past that barrier of this illusion of there's these running backs who are just going to be that thorn in the side, and while it will be true for 2025 and beyond, it's like you're going to the moon. So if you had a trip to the moon, metaphorically, I don't think you stop that up. So I think that's where you go and get Henderson. But to Chev's point, it's going to happen where Ramondre is going to fall in the end zone. It's going to be a thorn in your side. I was talking to somebody today, RJ Harvey. It's going to happen. RJ Harvey is going to get inside the 5, get subbed out. J.K. Dobbins,
baby,
pounded in, and X will tilt. It could be week 5, 3, 8. It's going to happen enough, but it's not going to outmeasure the endurance of the value of all 3.
Yeah. Timeline for the 3 touchdown J.K. Dobbins performance is going to hit like crack.
Oh, buddy.
All right.
And don't forget that Ramondre lost time to Ezekiel Elliott in 2023, plus he was hurt. And then last year came back and he was by all means the lead back in that room, and he still averaged less than 4 yards per carry. So he may be too expensive to cut, but he's not too expensive to put on the bench if TreVeyon is averaging 5.2 yards per carry.
Their offensive line was so awful. I don't want to be the Ramondre apologist here. I don't. So I'm not going to do it.
We love it. Okay,
I thought about it. I really had to stop myself just then. I was like,
moving on.
I want to talk about it. It's like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to.
Antonio Gibson.
Do you want to talk about, Chev? Talk about a guy.
Who do I want to talk about? Let's talk about one of your fellow Canadians.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, let's talk about somebody from Canada land. Shout out, bonjour from Bentonville, Arkansas. Happy Canada Day, all that good stuff. Now that we got that out of the way, I want to talk about one of my favorite Canadians on the face of the planet that I know about right now outside of Mike Greinberg, and that is Mr. Chase Brown. So Chase Brown going around pick 55 or 56. I have been a Chase Brown guy. He had the profile. He had a very similar. So interestingly enough, I think I saw Schultzy's, and I didn't really make the correlation, but I could see a very similar path, like not the Chase Brown path, because that's gross and you'll feel like he sucks after year one. But TreVeyon could be stuck in a situation where there's a Joe Mixon problem, or in this instance, it's a Ramondre problem. But so he finally gets the role. Okay, weeks 1 through 6 or whatever, before Zach Moss broke his neck at that massage parlor or whatever he was doing. Before that happened, it was a 50-50 split. It was basically 99 touches to 101 touches. The minute that Zach Moss goes on IR and goes to Thailand or whatever he was doing, Chase Brown from weeks 8 to 17 was the RB5. RB5. And we're talking about a guy who has the home run hitting ability. Now, I know he wasn't great in missed tackles forced or breakaway runs. I don't know what it is about the Bengals O-line or the Bengals run game. It just doesn't really work in the way of explosive runs per se. It just doesn't. You look at Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon looked amazing with the Texans last year. For years, I fought this battle about the Bengals running game and Joe Mixon actually being good, and whatever it is they had going on just doesn't work. Same thing happens with Chase Brown. I think we have proof of concept now. It just doesn't work very well. They spend a bunch of money on O-line. It just doesn't work. Maybe their O-line coach sucks. That's not the point. The point is Chase Brown was a true workhorse. He was Kyron Williams that caught passes. He handled 78% of their touches inside the 5 in 2024. They only added, you get Zach Moss back from Thailand, and hopefully he's okay and he's good to go. But I could care less because we're talking about a real workhorse. Chase Brown caught 54 passes last year. And so for me, Chase Brown is a guy that I feel very comfortable selecting, especially now that I only have to worry about Taj Brooks and Zach Moss in the backfield. And we love Taj Brooks. Absolutely love Taj Brooks. The reason I'm in on Chase Brown is because I get this year and potentially next year where I don't have to worry about where he's going to be in this offense. All of their weapons are locked up for long term. So you're getting a workhorse running back in an elite offense that handles 78% of the carries inside the 5, and you can get him around pick 55 or 56. So I will cede the floor to you, gentlemen. I feel like I've been talking a lot on the front of this episode tonight. So I just want to hear what you guys have to say about Mr. Canada, Chase Brown.
Well, let me speak on Mr. Canada because, he's my fellow countryman. And, you know what? It's okay to have you talk a little bit at the beginning of the show. We missed you last week, Chev. So shout out.
Great to be back. Great to be back, guys.
It's great to have you back, man. It's having the fivesome here is really good stuff here. But I agree with you here on Chase Brown. I was high on him last tank. Yeah. I got a ton of Chase Brown shares. He was a league winner for me last year. Got him in a lot of lineups that were in my championship roster. So I love your call here. And I was worried about the draft coming in here. And bigz mentioned a guy on our forecast show that's going to be airing in a couple days. But he's got Taj Brooks as one of his sleepers and in later round ADP stuff that you're going to take a stab at if Chase Brown were to go down. But I think this is Chase Brown's backfield. You mentioned some really good stuff here about him, his red zone usage, but he can receive as well. He's a great receiver, good pass protector as well. He's not going to be off the field. And Zach Taylor has already mentioned a number of times that he is the workhorse back. He is our guy. He could be a top 10 back in this league, and he proven that on the latter stretch of last year. So I think the keys are in his hands, and unless he fumbles a ton or gets injured, I think that his job is secure here, and I think he got a couple of years of his usage as well because of all the salary that the Bengals have tied up in their power 3 there, and I don't think they can afford to pay any sort of running back, anything like that. So they're drafting that way, and if you look at Chase Brown's usage, it's better than Mixon's glory days with the Bengals. He's more efficient, so I don't see why they would want to replace him at this stage. So yeah, I love this call, and I think in Dynasty he's still a very safe pick in this range. Anybody got something to say about that at all? Like, is there anybody against this Chase Brown pick?
No, I just want to piggyback real quick. In 2023, towards the end of the season, Mike and I had quite a few episodes where we were like, get Chase Brown on your team in Dynasty, and because he's gonna go off when he gets a chance.
The only bearish thing that maybe presented itself to the Bengals themselves was that game, Week 17, where Chase Brown got hurt right at the goal line. Remember, Joe Burrow got to rush in for the touchdown on the very next play. And I think that moment just made the Bengals front office. You spoke to the allocation of cap, maybe not the year to invest in running back. So this year he gets another year free reign. Taj Brooks is there, I think, on purpose to a degree to prevent some of that overuse on Chase Brown. But with circumstances, because of the way the Bengals have allocated things, we are going to get full run again, another year of Chase Brown. I think the next year we may see more of a tandem where there's some duplication of what Detroit does and what the Panthers have low-key tried to do with Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. But to your point, it's punted another year off, and who doesn't love winning a championship in 2025 with Chase Brown?
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of bears, did you guys know that grizzly bears and polar bears can interbreed?
Yes, it's called a grizzly bear.
It's called a growler bear.
Or growler bear.
A growler.
Also, Chase Brown is only a $143,000 dead cap on his $1 million salary. So watch out for that, because that's not a good.
Whoa. All right, new fear unlocked. I don't like this game.
You're welcome.
We're unlocking fears, and you know what?
It only costs $1 million to keep him on the roster, so
that's a very enticing salary to keep on there, I'd say. All right, let's hear from our sponsor here, Schultzy. Everything that's going down on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. We got a lot cracking on there, so let's hear about it.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
Let's do that. All right, I'm going to get into my...
Who's your guy?
Okay. Well, my guy's been steaming up in the last little while, and I'm still okay taking him in round 6. Typically, he's going in round 7, and, sometimes he's even sliding to round 8, but I got, a lot of chips in this stash here, I'd have to say. For me, I think one of the values here, and we're going to be talking about a value in the future years, and we're going to be talking about Jaxson Dart in future years. He's being drafted in the 77 overall range right now in Dynasty Startups, QB 23 overall, and I'm fully on board. He brings, that strong arm talent, good mobility, and some leadership, the kind of profile that can blossom into a fantasy starter with the right development. I don't think he's going to be starting right out of the gate, but maybe after their first week bye, I think it's week 6, I could see Jaxson Dart taking on here, and might give Brian Dable a little bit of breathing room if the season gets derailed, if they have a rookie in the lineup over, maybe a veteran like Russell Wilson, if things don't go awry right away for the Giants. Dart is, incredible at the deep ball, in my opinion. And, he's got a very good supporting cast. He's paired up now with Malik Neighbors, one of the most explosive receiving prospects in recent memory. That move wasn't just about getting a weapon. It was about setting up Dart for success. I think that this is a great tandem here. He's not just a stash for me. He's got top 10 upside in the right scenario. And I think maybe this year, potentially next, is where Jaxson Dart is going to really return some value. And if you can get him in round 6 or 7 in a startup, I think that's where the value is going to be increasing here. And maybe next year I could see him be going in, the rounds 2, 3, potentially at that stage. He's a future starter and a top 10 potential, 92 PFF grade overall, second among the 56 drafted eligible quarterbacks in 2024, 7.1% big throw rate. That's second in the class, showing that he's got a legitimate arm, 94.3 clean pocket grade. That was second in the FBS, elite when protected. So hopefully that O-line can be a little bit better, and some pass protection might help there, and a better running game, than bringing in Scatabo to complement Tyrone Tracy. I think this could really help Jaxson Dart, and I just think that he's a really good target in round 6 if you decide to wait a little bit on quarterback, and a guy that may not start this year early, but I think round 6 is a great spot to have him in dynasty startups when his value could be, round 2 or 3 next year.
Now I got a dart in my pants. No, I love it when I run a train and guys just start to jump on. Long-term viewers of the show know that I was an early adopter on the Jaxson Dart Express, and it's just so validating to listen to people hop on board with me, watch them take him in drafts and things like that. I love it, love it, love it. Not only does he have Malik Neighbors, and he's got 2 very, very capable pass catchers in the backfield, and Cam Scotabo, who led FBS last year in receiving yards for running backs, but also Tyrone Tracy, who's a converted wide receiver. So, he can do it too. Then you get Wan'Dale Robinson over the middle. Theo Johnson hopefully should have a healthy year. But let's not forget the new wild card, and that's Jaylen Hyatt and his 15 to 20 pounds of muscle that he somehow added in the offseason. I thought that was only dirty if it was Barry Bonds. Anyway, no, Jaylen Hyatt has been working his butt off to become relevant for the Giants as a receiver, and more than just a deep threat, which he was before. So I think you're right. I think they're building the offense correctly in support of Jaxson Dart, and I expect him to take over. I'm probably a little bit early, but I expect him to take over before week 8, and I'm fully on board with you. What do you guys think? Coach?
Jeff, you got anything? Are you silent? What are your thoughts on him in round 6 as a starting quarterback?
It's not my turn. It's not my turn to talk.
We want to hear some fire.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Nobody wants to hear what I have to say about this. Bigz elaborated on that wonderfully, masterfully.
There it is.
Jaxson Dart is just too big to fail.
Talk about your round 7 guy, bud.
Are you talking to me? It's
Bigz. It's Biggs' turn, I think.
It's Bigz. I apologize. I can't read.
Feedback on the Jaxson Dart thing.
Nope.
What do you think about Jaxson Dart, Schultzy?
I mean, I do like him. I don't think I'm quite as far as you are on him, but I mean, the rushing stuff is definitely there, and I mean, it gets talked about and hit on all the time with quarterbacks. And if he's going to go, I mean, he's got the potential to rush for 600-700 yards, and that, I mean, it seems a little crazy, but I think he can get there. And he's throwing to Malik Neighbors. Just force feed that dude and let him score points for you. So yeah, I think I would tend to fall for some of the other quarterbacks in this range in a startup situation, but like, I don't fault anyone for leaning this way.
So, question for the room: Jaxson Dart, Brian Daboll, Giants front office trying to save their jobs. Why do we not just rip the Band-Aid off and have Dart go and start week 1? Is that optimal, and will that happen? Greinberg, I'll start with you.
I think that would be optimal. I don't think that's going to be optimal for any rookie to start in the NFL, really. I mean, that just doesn't really happen all that often, and them having a whole lot of great success. I mean, ideally, it would be him, sitting around, but I don't think the Giants have that opportunity and that luxury to let that happen. I think Daboll's on a short leash, and I think that's going to, have a big play into what's going to happen here. And, I think that he's going to start the season with Russell Wilson. And as soon as something falters, and there's some adversity there, I think Jaxson Dart's going to get put in right away. And then we're really going to have to see how cerebral he is and how much he could really lean on the guys around him, like Big says. And if it's as good as, people think that Malik Neighbors is, I think that he could be sustainable. I think he could do okay. And it can't be any worse than what the Giants have done in the last couple of years. And, they moved up. So, they're showing their cards here as far as what they want to do in that position. So you don't move up in the first round if you're going to tank next year and want to get the first overall pick, because I just don't see that happening now because of what they've done. So I think the cards are laid out for Jaxson Dart to have the opportunity for the next year or two, and then maybe see what happens after that in a really strong 2027 class. Maybe they're going to see what they can get out of this.
How
If
about
I'm
you,
Brian
Big?
Dable, I start him week 1. I'm not Brian Dable. Brian Dable is going to go for stability. I wouldn't go for stability.
I've often held the thought that if you're playing quarterback in the NFL is such a unique position, right? Like it's such a unique skill set mentally and physically. I've often held the thought that if you throw a rookie quarterback out there early and he crumbles, he was never the guy to start with. I'm not trying to sit a guy on the bench to learn or whatever. Like if he's got it, he's got it. So play the kid.
On the other hand, if you look at last year, Bo Nix and Drake May didn't start to begin the year. And then in the second half of the season, he had his feet wet and he was able to acclimate to the game. Bo Nix started right away, and it took him the first half of the season to kind of get his feet under him before he started to really blossom.
Chev, what do you think happened?
But yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, but both guys appear to have it, and it showed, and it showed out. So
yeah,
that's a great point, Schultzy. I would like to point out the differences that Drake May was behind a paper mache offensive line, and the Broncos offensive line finished first in run block win rate and pass block win rate. So like he just situations totally different. I do love Bo Nix and Drake May this year, though. I hope for a very similar outcome with Drake May and Jaxson Dart. I think that the Giants are going to suck real bad real bad. The problem is I think they suck so bad that everybody gets fired, and then we're kind of back at square one trying to figure out what in the world to do with Jaxson Dart. I also think that the fact that he's having to actually spit out NFL nomenclature and learn a snap count and do all that stuff is part of the reason why he's not going to start the season. It's just a tremendous learning curve. I trolled bigz about Jaxson Dart. I mean, I don't think he sucks. I just think that there's a lot of growth that needs to take place for him to be a successful NFL quarterback in my like long-term successful, not like Will Levis successful where he goes out and throws 4 touchdown passes and then you get fooled into thinking that like maybe he's a franchise quarterback and then he just kind of turns into a meme every single week over week. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. I blacked out a little bit just then. I'm back with you guys now. But I do think that he's going to be successful. I think that it's just the price point right now that is tripping me up here because you can either spend, I think JJ McCarthy's around quarterback 21 and we don't have questions about the ecosystem. We don't have questions about what, the play caller, which, I mean, you might have a few questions about Brian Daboll, but also I think that it's going to work, but I don't think it's going to work in this regime. And I don't think it's going to pay off in 2025.
So we're talking about startup drafting, and let me kind of project forward for a couple of years. And I like that you brought up JJ McCarthy because he kind of fits into what I'm about to say. And this is in relation to Jaxson Dart and the fact that he's available in a draft right now. You have to take him even if he's not going to produce in 2025. And here's the reason why. When you look at a guy with 500 rushing yard upside 2 years in a row in college, and you look at a guy like J.J. McCarthy who rushed, and you look at Bo Nix who was Derek Carr that could rush, and you look at Drake May who's Josh Allen light, what you're looking at projecting out to 26, 27 is your top 10 quarterbacks are going to be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Jaxson Dart. All of these guys these guys are running quarterbacks.
One of those things is not like the other.
They are all very similar in terms of their rushing upside. And you're going to have that out of your top 10 quarterback if you want to have a top 10 quarterback. That's just the way that players are getting drafted now. I love Geno Smith. I love Derek Carr. They're not part of the future of the NFL. Jaxson Dart and J.J. McCarthy and Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix those guys are, and you have to have them on your rosters. So unless you want to kick the can down the road, let him blossom and then try and pay the price. Go ahead and get him now before he's done anything in the NFL, knowing that he has that runway with the rushing upside.
I do agree that he does. I mean, he does have the rushing upside. There's no question about that.
He's going like right now. He's quarterback 23. You mentioned JJ McCarthy. He's going at quarterback 14, who hasn't played an NFL snap yet, really, in a regular season game either. So you're getting quite a bit of difference here. We're talking about Cam Ward going as QB 17, who was the number 1 quarterback in this class. Cam Ward and Jaxson Dart, number 2. That's probably 3 full rounds in a dynasty startup that you're getting. Is that really that much of a difference between the two of them in retrospect? I don't know. These are all great conversations to have here, because QB 23, young quarterback with rushing upside, I'm willing to take that stab, because if he does hit, he's going to be a guy that I'm going to have for years on my roster that is going to be a staple for me, especially if he can be, my QB2 for years to come with that rushing upside. If he can, meander 400 yards on the ground, I think that's a league winning upside here as your QB2, and you can get him, in a startup right now in the 6th round as a reach for me. But in round 7 and 8, I think that's an automatic hit for me.
Schultzy said 700 yards.
Wow. I mean, that could happen if he's running for his
Daniel Jones can run for 700 yards on an American tackle football NFL field. Anything is possible.
We have it.
Like
all right.
Garnett.
Yeah, like him being the starting quarterback of the Colts. So yeah,
I said, hey, we're not talking fantasies. We're talking fantasy football.
I miss throwing Justin Fields into that top 10
for sure. It's
right.
Okay. I'll forgive you.
We'll get through our next 2 rounds, maybe, and then maybe we'll split the second half for our next show. So, Biggs, talk about your guy, who you're targeting in. I guess we're in round 7 now.
Well, first of all, a wise man once said, "Well." Another wise man once said, "Wow, how the turntables." We are fresh off a week where we were discussing this wide receiver, and I was talking about how hesitant I am, how his efficiency has dropped off, how the offense changed around him, and how I'm out on him. And what a difference 1 week can make. With the Jonnu Smith trade to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Miami Dolphins have opened up my window for drafting Tyreek Hill, especially if I look down and he's going at 92 in terms of keep trade cuts ADP, and as wide receiver 39. Now, one of the big signals of that Miami trading of Jonnu Smith is that maybe they're not as bought in on last year's offense as we thought they may have been last week. And Tyreek Hill is still a big part of their plans moving forward. Darren Waller doesn't scare me one bit. I'm not one of the people that went out and spent $500 in Fab last night to go grab Darren Waller. It's hard for guys who are a couple seasons removed from the NFL to acclimate real quickly. I don't see a Jonnu Smith role for Darren Waller this year. I do see a major uptick for Tyreek Hill, and drafting him at wide receiver 39 with top 15 upside. I'm here for it. And, one Thursday I'm out, and then they draw me back in.
Hey, I love that call, because right now Tyreek Hill goes in early round 3 on Underdog. In a startup a couple months ago, I was able to get him in round 8, and he's just been a print fest for fantasy goodness. Really, it's just a narration of last year, had the wrist issue. It's come out that lingered a lot more. And of course, you had the quarterback conundrum with Tua being out. And so funny, we get so sour on a 30-plus-year-old wide receiver, and a guy like Tyreek Hill, who was just printed consistently year over year. And Tyreek Hill has the body type, the way he trains as well, to age very well in the NFL. And it's just crazy. We're giving all this benefit of the doubt to a 32-and-a-half-year-old receiver in Devontae Adams, rightfully so. But why can't we give that same grace to the burner that is Tyreek Hill? I think just it's a matter of, we think there's some issues with, there could be a suspension that could come out of nowhere from any kind of issue, or there could just be bickering on the sideline. After that, beyond that, if you can look past that, Tyreek Hill prints money for fantasy and for gamers. So I'm with you, bigz. Love it, and it unlocks. And if you've had something in front of you, like somebody like Jonnu Smith, we spoke to the running backs who have their secondary backs who can prevent you from getting the prize. Well, if you've been able to see past that and some of the warts, if you can see past a couple of the warts, you can get the goodness. And Tyreek Hill, I love it. But now the price of the brick has gone up. Yesterday's price is not today's price. And now you have to pay the freight. Rightfully, you should still pay the freight. But at the same time, you should be sitting here thinking, man, I couldn't at least try and tell myself a story. I think people, where they go wrong, and this is just a good learning point, if you see Tyreek Hill and you see that you've been out on him up to this point, you have to, at least kind of like a lawyer, try and look at other sides of the case to where it could go right versus your fades. That way you're sure when you're full fading a player, and you try and unlock and unturn every stone. So if you were out on Tyreek Hill, you just didn't turn enough stones, and that can just be a lesson for players who are descending the ladder as they age in Dynasty football, because there could be some more there. So love it, bigz.
Well, what I had said was the fact that he ran more routes and had 50 fewer targets than he did the year before, and there had to be some indicator to me that it wasn't a changing offense and that he hadn't lost a step, because those were things that were more likely to happen than to just think, well, he had the wrist injury, so he was just a decoy. Well, now, it looks in hindsight like that might have been the thing. He goes out and he publicly runs a filmed 10-100. If he can keep doing that, it doesn't matter how old he is, we can track that he hasn't lost a step, and I'll keep drafting it.
A Darryl Green, but on offense.
Buddy, you saw that? You saw a video of Darryl Green? Y'all seen that?
Yeah.
Incredible. 65. Dude, I tried to pull my trash down my driveway backwards. I almost fell down today. So him being able to do that at 65 is crazy. But I agree with you, bigz. My only thing is that he went from third in the league in first read target share to 38th, which also supports your point that he might have been way more injured than he let on. And he could not, the dip in targets, 120 targets is still nothing to sneeze at, but going from 170 to 120 is significant. And then going from fourth and first read target share or third to 38th is more support of your point.
I got something to add to that before, Coach, we get into your guy here. You know what I mean? And what does that mean here for a guy like Jaylen Waddle, who at the same time, this opens up some situations for him, but we also know how injury prone he's been over the years. So this could really be monstrous for Tyreek Hill if Waddle were to miss a game or two, like he's history of doing. Chev, you got a thumbs down for Waddle. I got a lot of guys that I know that I admire in the fantasy space that speak highly of Waddle this year. I'm not sold on him. Why are you with the thumbs down on Jaylen Waddle?
The idea of Jaylen Waddle is so much cooler than actual Jaylen Waddle.
Yep.
If you owned Jaylen Waddle the last couple of years, it sucked a lot. And it's not getting – Tyreek Hill's always going to be the top dog. They've paid him over $150 million in contracts. So he's going to be the top dog. Jaylen Waddle got there on his rookie year with incredible volume, 142 targets. And then he got there on incredible efficiency. Other than that, it's been really, really regular.
Schultzy,
Kobe Myers level regular.
Yeah, so on our redraft show, I don't know, was it last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, I talked about how I had some real concerns here. And for me, the deep targets got cut in half. His yak numbers were significantly down. His yards per route run were 35th in the league or something when he was king of the league in that stat the last few years. And it all kind of pointed to me to say Mike McDaniel is kind of transforming how the offense runs. And I was scared of the target stuff. We saw another 80, 90 targets for Waddle, and then 110 for Jonnu. Well, and you meant, and now that John is gone, we have to take this into account and pivot. And I think what you're saying is right. And on the Darren Waller stuff, I'm out there too. Like, that dude's not getting 110 targets. He's a couple of years. Why are we as a community in on Darren Waller when a couple of years ago everybody was out on Calvin Ridley because he missed a year and a half or whatever, but now we're in on Darren Waller?
But hear me out. When he played the Dolphins in 2023, he did have 11 targets and 8 catches for 86 yards.
And I still couldn't trade him.
Just hear me out. I'm trolling, dude. I can't. I'm trying to sell him for a third just so I can absolve myself of the, I got him in a couple leagues. I did, but I got to absolve myself. It's like, I got to get this off my roster. This doesn't feel good.
It's wild to me that a year in and year out producer like Calvin Ridley gets the suspension, works his tail off, working out constantly while he's suspended. And the number one narrative is he hasn't played in a while. He's going to suck. And then now we got this dude who has hardly stayed on the field, hasn't produced in 5 years, quits the NFL for a rap career, and now we're all in.
Yep. Making terrible auto-tune rap songs. That's what
with terrible soft tissue injury that just keeps hamstrings for a tight end, or just it's a mess waiting to happen. And you know what? If this says anything to me, I'm going to be investing heavily in Achane where I can. I think he's going to have a huge season. And then bigz, you definitely scratched the surface here last week on the forecast with Jaylen, right? Who I think that could be a red zone threat here for the Dolphins if things go right there. So I love this offense that's going to be maybe a little bit more consolidated now with Janu gone, and this could be really, really good for fantasy as it has been in the past. Now, Coach, what are you looking at here for like your round 8 guy, a guy that I think has gotten a lot of steam over the last couple of weeks here, especially with Daniel Jones coming in. So talk a little bit about your guy and maybe a couple other targets you might have in this round.
Yeah, it's definitely Josh Downs. A lot of steam. We're not talking about Cleveland. And then you've got Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Adams. There's so much theft. So for me, let's start it off the rip. It's Josh Downs. I'm bullish with Daniel Jones. Downs, 107 targets last year, 14 games played, 17-game pace puts him around 130 targets. Sign me up, especially from the slot. 6th in target rate for Josh Downs in 2024. 8th in slot snaps and 5th in route win rate. 13.1 fantasy points per game. Was wide receiver 28. So we have a floor safely built in the ADP draft price that we're at. Receiving yards, consecutive years, 23 and 24. Talk about Jaylen Waddle. Targets all last 4 years. And receptions have gone down each season, all 4 years. For Downs, he's going in the opposite direction, going up in receiving yards. 771 his rookie season, 803 last year. This year in 2025, I'm calling it Josh Downs will be a 1,000-yard receiver. In FFPC, high stakes, I got Josh Downs at the 8-9. I got him ahead of, these are the players, Tyler Warren, Stephon Diggs, Matthew Golden. It's very palatable. You could talk about Tyler Warren all you want. Great pick there. But hey, mind you, they're teammates. And with the JT, the Tyler Warren, and the Josh Downs train tied to Daniel Jones, I love it in an indoor environment. Josh Downs, the only knock on him at UNC would be he'd sporadically just kind of, late scratch to a game. And you'd be like, wait, what's going on? Where's his durability? And we've seen that being in the NFL with Michael Pittman Jr., what Michael Pittman Jr. played through inspired Josh Downs. So you're going to see Josh Downs turn into that true, from being a youthful player to a full-on veteran who just knows how to get through an entire season, and he's going to produce as such. Some other honorable mentions I couldn't pass up. Jerry Jeudy is in that range. I'm not scared of the QB stuff. Njoku, Jeudy, I'm there. Jeudy hit his 5th-year season breakout. So there have been so many easy button receivers that people kind of get tired of. Well, it took this guy a while, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. So why should we have to wait around? 144 targets was 7th last year for Jeudy. 1,229 receiving yards, ranked 6th. 5th in air yards, 90 receptions last year. All his ADP price point, 26 years old, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver 12 in 2024. Stealing, Schultzy. You selected Devontae Adams in the Grindberg Invitational. Round 9, smash in round 3 in redraft. Smash at cost in Dynasty, startups. Okay. Devontae Adams, 5 straight years, 14 games or played or more. But hey, let's just be like, hey, Tyreek is getting old, and it's not Devontae Adams, right? But I love Devontae Adams. Last year, Adams, 3rd in red zone targets in 2024 with 25. 9th in yards after the catch, so the speed is still there. You get Matthew Stafford, could not land in a better situation. So it's Downs, Jeudy, and Adams. You're just theft all over. You're just mad that you don't have 3 picks in this round.
My only quibble with that is Jeudy. I say take Devontae Adams, let Jeudy go to somebody else, and then draft Calvin Ridley and Cedric Tillman after that.
There we go. Some Seti Till love. I was about to say.
Hold on. This show sheet, because we're cutting it off, I have round 13 player Calvin Ridley.
So do I.
He's this year's Terry McLaurin.
We both put him in the show sheet.
You guys are going to have to revamp the show sheet for next week, because we're going to get back to the latter half of this draft, because there was some great content here. We talked about some great round action here. Schultzy, what do you have to say about that coaches, Josh Downs, maybe some Jeudy action? Anything to comment on that before we hit the road?
Sometimes as the fantasy community, we collectively steam up a dude and it comes some groupthink, but sometimes it's because it's real. And that's how I feel with Josh Downs. You mentioned the arrow going up through the first 2 seasons, and the arrow went up stat wise, target wise, reception wise, yards wise, touchdown wise, and 3 less games. So yeah, dude, we're going to keep going up here for Josh Downs. And when you're looking at Daniel Jones, we've seen Daniel Jones funnel, God, how many targets to Wandale that one year? He's gonna dump it off underneath. And at this point, Josh Downs is a more talented player. I don't think there's a question there. And I think the Colts are they're gonna be okay, but I think they're gonna be playing from behind a good amount still. And we're just gonna be dumping off. I'm all aboard Daniel Jones starting, and he's going to be dumping off to Josh Downs a ton. So I like that one. Jerry Jeudy, I'm a little bit more out on, because his production came after Cedric Tillman got the concussion. Well, most of his production. That's when he really started going off. And Devontae Adams, we've talked about him ad nauseum, man. Last week I said we're pitching tents in the cement aisle, and we're not leaving until the cops get called. And I think this show proves that, man. Call the cops on us. That's the only way we're getting out of here.
Yeah, call the cops on us. I dare you.
Oh wow! Don't call the cops on me.
Things are pulsing in the cement aisle, and Schultzy's all in on Devontae Adams. I love it. All right, guys, what a great show! It's great having the boys.
What a great show, fellas!
I'm excited.
How do you say that in French?
We'll be back next week,
fellas,
with the latter half of this draft.
Send in the clowns.
I love it.
So should I do a live stream of me watching the Tour de France?
You should.
You should speak French the whole time.
You should be eating a croissant with one of the silly hats.
It starts at 4 a.m. every day.
There's no reason. If you're asleep, you're not woke. So
all right, I'm gonna go start my Twitch account.
All right, folks, we'll be back next week with the latter half of this draft, where we got, rounds 9 through 14 to go over, some gems in those rounds where, could really fill your roster. And especially in those rounds 12 to 15, where, we could really peg some guys that you're going to really need on your rosters to get it over the edge. Let's go.
We're all about filling those holes.
All right, bigz, do it like you do so well. Plug the brand, plug everything we got going on, and send us home so well like you always do.
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody for watching the Dynasty Pulse once again on Fantasy Sports Advice Network and on the Undroppables. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Share the show. Hit the bell. Comment in the comment section. We'll be right there to give you feedback on your feedback. Go to the merch store, Fantasy Draft or FantasySportsAdvice.com. Get your pro membership, qualify for our jersey leagues. We'll have more on that in the coming months. But you can win autographed jerseys just by beating us in fantasy football. How great does that sound? And also all the merch. You get the Fantasy Forecast merch, you get the Dynasty Pulse merch, you get all the other shows merch, and the team-oriented merch, and the fantasy football-oriented merch, all of that stuff. It's all great. And we hope you win.
We hope you win, folks. And if you're drafting in the Scott Fish Bowl, if you've already drafted, good luck to y'all. And hopefully it's not a slow draft. Hey, Chev, let's go.
And we hope
Peace
you don't
out.
win.